Good morning everyone, my name's Brian Davis. This video is the first in a series of pro tips, tech tips, call it what you like, that I want to produce to help dive professionals, dive centres and advanced divers. And as you know, at the moment with COVID-19, cleaning of gear, disinfection of gear is a big issue. I'm making this video to show you how to use bleach and follow accepted practices issued by DAN, the WHO and the CDC in the US to make it easy for you to clean your gear safely. If we look at the DAN USA website and recommendations regarding the use of bleach, you'll see the first recommendation is for a 0.1% sodium hypochlorite solution. It does come down further and say a 2% solution. Both are the same if you're using a 5 to 5.25% bleach or 5.25% sodium hydrochloride bleach. So what I'm going to explain to you in this video is aligned with that. I personally think the DAN recommendations are clearer and more easy to understand, but my only issue is with it they talk about 5% sodium hydrochloride bleach where the standard is 5.25%. Remember to look on the bottle. You want to make sure that it's straight bleach, i.e. there's nothing else added except sodium hypochlorite. But they do give some good recommendations, and again, what I'm going to show you practically in this video is aligned with the DAN Europe recommendations. Before we get on to the actual showing you how to make the solution easily and safely, for those of you who may be worried about calculating their own amounts of bleach to add to water, that sort of thing, because you don't want to use the size of container that I've used in the demonstration, if you go to this website, publichealthontario.ca, there's a very easy to use chlorine calculator which you can use. So say you haven't got 5.25% bleach and you can only get 6% bleach, you can enter that in. We need 1000 ppm, which equates to the 0.1% shown on the DAN Europe website. It'll calculate it for you in litres, gallons or imperial. So let's just say, for argument's sake, we wanted 50 US gallons, so we just put that in there. The unit of measure is also gallons for the bleach. It then just tells us what to do, right? So it gives us a dilution rate, which is obviously going to be greater than 1 to 50 because it's 6%. I've looked all over the web. This is the easiest calculator to use, and I recommend it because it covers gallons, US gallons, UK gallons and litres, and it can handle different concentrations of bleach. So here we are, Brian Davis Scuba on location. So I've just explained to you earlier in the video about the need to disinfect equipment and the recommendations. Now I'm going to show you a really simple way to get your disinfectant solution right first time and safe. So what have I got here? I've got about 125 litre plastic bin, to which I've put a valve on the bottom, a simple valve. You can get them in Home Depot, any hardware store, and that's just to help empty the tub later on, because we don't want to be sploshing it all around. And then here at the back, put another tap. Now why have I done that? Because I want the solution to be easy to be made. So that tap, if you look inside, that is 94.5 litres. So when I'm filling this drum, I'm going to leave that tap open. As soon as some water or solution comes out, I know that that's 94.5. How did I do that? Well, I took this to my friend's factory, and he's got an industrial scale, so I just put it on there and I poured in water until I got to 94.5 kilograms. 1 litre of water equals 1 kilogram. If you can't do that, you can do it manually with a 5 litre measuring jug or a 20 litre pail and just pour it in. So 94.5 litres. Why did I choose that? Because I'm using 1.89 litres, that's a standard pack from Clorox, and this is their standard bleach. Don't buy the super duty, super strong, all that. You want standard household Clorox bleach, which comes at 5.25% concentration. And by adding this into the water while I'm filling the tub, I will hit the 1000 ppm, 0.1% active ingredient, which is chlorine, that's recommended by Dan for us to soak our diving equipment for 5 minutes. You can see here that I've put a sign on here that this is only to be used for disinfection of scuba gear, and I say use a separate tub for regulators, masts and snorkels. You don't need to, but a lot of people will be unhappy, well, not so happy putting in with wetsuits and booties and that sort of stuff. So that's another reason for the tap down there. I can just fill up a small bucket for disinfecting regulators, masts and snorkels. That's the bits that all touch your mouth. Before we get going, we need a bit of PPE, bit of safety equipment. So what I've got, a little couple of dollar safety visor. I got this one from Daizu, Japanese pound store. A pair of medium to heavy duty washing gloves. Now, household bleach isn't per se very hazardous. If you do get it on your skin, generally you'll just get a tingle and you just wash it off quickly. Some people, it may cause an allergic reaction, so you don't want to be sploshing it around. In general, it's safe. You definitely don't want it in your eyes. If you haven't got a visor, use a scuba mask. Yeah. So the other bit of equipment that we need, you can get these little test strips. You see I've got the extra high here, which start at 0, go to 1000. Then I've got the high level, or the more normal, which start at a 0 and go to 1000. So we're kind of at, why have I got both? Because we're at the end of the spectrum on both strips. So especially for professional dive centres, professional instructors, you need to be testing and keeping records of what you've disinfected, which items you've disinfected, and when. And at the end of the video, I'll give you a little template that you can use for record keeping. Really important, because if something happens to somebody gets infected and they're tracing back, they want to know where they got the infection, and you don't want it to be at your scuba facility. Okay, now the way I'm going to do this, you always add bleach to water. So I'm going to fill the bucket around halfway. I'm then going to add all of my bleach and then continue up until we get the bin full, where it overflows from the tap. Then we'll measure it, and then we should be good to go. Okay, so let's put the water in now. One thing you would have noticed earlier, we have covers for both of the tubs. Chlorine, which is the active ingredient in bleach, and why do we call it sodium hypochlorite? Chlorine's a gas, so there needs to be a carrier, and the way to carry chlorine gas in a liquid is to make it into a sodium hypochlorite solution. But it will evaporate, so if you leave it just open, the chlorine gas will evaporate off, and your disinfection solution will become weaker. So once you've made it, put the top on it until you put the gear in to soak it, and then leave it for 5 minutes. Don't leave it for any more. The recommendation is a minimum of 5 minutes, right? You don't want to be leaving it longer, because if you leave it longer, it may bleach your dive gear or stuff. So you disinfect it. We're then going to rinse it again, and then hang it out to dry. And remember, keep a record of when you did it, how you did it, and what items were disinfected. Okay, so I'm about a third full, so now I'm going to open my bleach, and notice I'm opening it over the tub, not away from the tub, because if anything did spill out, it would go straight into the water. So don't pour it in from there, get down close to the water, right, and pour it slowly in. Why am I doing it like this? To avoid splashes. The objective is not to spill anywhere, just have it in the water. That's now in there. It flows the bleach, and you'll see I've not got a drop on me.
So it is a very safe operation. You've just got to take care, and guys, do not rush it, right? If your boss is on to you, get that done, or I've forgotten to do it, take time, right? Otherwise you'll be spilling some household bleach and staining stuff and ruining BCDs and that sort of stuff. Okay, now we're just going to fill, and when you've done this you can actually smell the chlorine. And I'm doing it like this now because I'm mixing the chlorine. You shouldn't have to mix anything because the action from the water will disperse the bleach. And there we go. We switch it off, turn the water off, and our solution is now ready for testing. Now I can take my gloves off because this is now very, very weak, but enough to kill viruses and germs. I've got our extra high level test tabs out. In we go. And I've got to leave it for approximately 30 seconds. So you can see almost instantly it's indicating 1,000, but we need to wait 30 seconds for the full colour change to occur. And it's distinctly different from the others. And you know, it's no surprise to me. I was expecting this because we've diluted it correctly. So if you take care, you should hit it. But take a photograph of this for your record keeping as well. Right, just do that and do that. Take a digital photograph and keep it for your record keeping, thereby proving you've got a correct solution. So we'll just try the high level ones as well now. So if we've got the 1000 ppm on both, we know we're spot on and it's safe to use. And there we go, 1000 ppm. So again, we'll just leave these for 30 seconds. Now I know we're at the correct concentration, putting the cover on, and that will stay good all day. Change the solution every day. Don't make it first thing. I would make up my solution, say, half an hour before the first divers are back from training or the first boat is back, and just have it ready for when they come. Have somebody in attendance to instruct them where to use it and how to use it, because divers will come off a boat and they'll just plonk the stuff. Before it goes in here, they need to rinse off their dive gear or dunk it in another tank. Right, that removes sand and other sorts of stuff on. And then into here, right, 5 minutes, right. So you need a dive centre member of staff timing that. You can't rely on the customers to be responsible for timing it. So in there for 5 minutes, then out, rinse in another tank, in a normal wash tank, and then I highly recommend that with a hose you rinse all the gear down and then leave it to dry. And then your dive gear is going to be safe to be used by another person. If it's your own personal gear, you haven't got to be as stringent if it's just you using the gear, right? But if you're sharing it with your family or friends, you need to follow this protocol. Take off a small bucket for our regulators, master snorkel, just to give the customers peace of mind that we're separating those items. Right, we're going to fill it up about 3/4 full, and then just for ease of use, I'm putting it on this little stand next to there. And what I'm going to do to prove that this does not affect your dive gear, I'm using my tried and trusted Scuba Pro Mark 20 Ultralight with clear G250. It's a collector's item now. I still use it every week. If I screw this up, I'm going to be mad. But it's the only way I can really convince you that doing this to your dive gear is safe. So this is going in there for 5 minutes. I'm also going to put my backup Mark 10 G250 Now, when your hand goes into the solution, you will feel a bit of tingling. Don't worry too much. Just afterwards, just rinse your hands quickly. If you are concerned, keep the gloves on. But you've got to remember, this is used in everyone's household all the time. So don't get wound up about it. Be back in 5 minutes to see if I've destroyed my ultralight. I'm going to put my mask in. Got a neoprene cover on there. So if that discolours, we'll know it affects the dive equipment. Again, this is my favourite mask. In it goes. In the big tub now. In with my BC and plate. My wing, sorry, you call it now wing. In with my trusty Scuba Pro fins. Well, that's all submerged now. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Let's have a look. Moment of truth. Mask. I can feel the chlorine solution, bleach solution on it, but mask. Nothing. Nothing's happened. Regular chrome plated brass regulator. In fact, it looks a bit nicer than it went in. Nothing has happened to it. Nothing at all. And my trusty Ultralight Mark 20 with the ceramic, also nothing has happened to it. Let's look at my wing. Right, let's have a look. You can smell the chlorine still. Right, fins. Oops. Nothing at all. Didn't even take that bit of wreck residue off. BC. Wing, sorry. Technical guys, don't crucify me. I've been diving since 1982. I should still be calling it an LBLJ, I guess. Everything's still in good shape. Okay, so what we're going to do now is wash this, rinse it all off, leave it, and just take a photo to see if there's any colour change after an hour or so. I think not. You know, I've studied this and researched it enough to know we're going to be okay. But I want to prove it to you, my viewers. My equipment's nice and dry now. Smells nice and fresh. Any chlorine will eventually evaporate anyway, and as you can see, there's been no fading. Nothing's happened to it at all. So you can see it works and it won't damage your equipment. But as I said, 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum, then rinse it off.
As I mentioned earlier in the video, it's important that you keep records, because if any of your customers do unfortunately contract a case of COVID-19, then I'm sure the authorities, wherever you are in the world, will backtrack and find out where he caught the infection. Hopefully not from your dive centre. Here's 2 sheets that I've prepared. Just drop me an email on bdavis.scuba@gmail.com and I'll be happy to send you editable formats. So the first sheet is the one that I prefer, which I've called Customer Equipment Disinfection Record Sheet, where they actually witness and or participate in the disinfection, and then they have to sign off it was disinfected for the required amount of time. And that, I think, is the safest option to protect you as a centre. If you just want to do general disinfection, and use this sheet, the equipment disinfection record sheet, so at least you've got a record if the authorities want to see your records.
Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this informative video on how to keep your dive kit nicely disinfected. My name's Brian Davis. This is Brian Davis Scuba. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and notify. It means a lot to me. And if you've liked this, found this useful, give it a thumbs up. If you want any further clarification, just pop it in the comments below. I will reply. See you next time.